Good evening, everyone. We welcome you here on this auspicious occasion. Can we begin with the invocation, please?
मैत्रीं भजत अखिलहृजेत्रीं मैत्रीं भजत अखिलहृजेत्रीम् आत्मवदेव परारपि पश्यत आत्मवदेव परारपि पश्यत युद्धं त्यजत स्पर्धां त्यजत युद्धं त्यजत स्पर्धां त्यजत त्यजत परेष्वक्रममाक्रमणम् त्यजत परेष्वक्रममाक्रमणम् मैत्रीं भजत अखिलहृजेत्रीं मैत्रीं भजत अखिलहृजेत्रीं जननी पृथिवी कामदुघस्ते जननी पृथिवी कामदुघस्ते जनको देवः सकलदयाळु जनको देवः सकलदयाळु दाम्यत दत्त दयध्वं जनता दाम्यत दत्त दयध्वं जनता श्रेयो भूयात् सकलजनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकलजनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकलजनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकलजनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकलजनानाम्
May I request the Vice Chancellor of Sastra University, Mr. Dr. Vaidya Subramanian, to give the inaugural address.
Most revered Justice Dr. Anita Suman, Judge, the Madras High Court, Mrs. and Mr. Ramadurai, and other family members from the family of Srimati Ambujam Venkatraman and Srimati Ambujam Venkatraman herself, who is watching this event online. And also I see the unseen presence of Mrs. YGP as well, blessing this event from the heaven at the top. She's been a constant source of support as an individual for me and also for the institution. Members from the bar and the bench, which includes former judges of the Madras High Court, special invitees, teachers from PSBB, Sandipani Vidyalaya. It's good to see students who want to become lawyers, a good set of students from different schools, and also students from Sastra Law School. Other invitees who have gathered for this evening's event. It gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you on behalf of Sastra, on behalf of the family of Srimati Ambujam Venkatraman, and also on behalf of the PSBB family, and also on my personal behalf. And I'm extremely happy to welcome all of you for a variety of reasons. But let me limit with just 2 or 3. Beginning with the realization of the fact that we are having this event as we approach towards the International Women's Day in a couple of days from now. That we are having this event to honor an outstanding contributor in the field of income tax law, which for many who are closely associated with the profession and more particularly with income tax will be fully aware of the contributions that Srimati Ambujam Venkatraman has made, and I'm sure the introduction which will be done by Mrs. Mala Ramdare will give you the person in whose honor that we are having this event. And it is with a singular objective to showcase such a personality before a very diverse audience of this type, and more importantly, young students and upcoming students who want to enter into the legal profession. These are personalities whom you should have as your role models to make sure that your aspirational objective of doing well in the legal profession becomes a functional reality. And we are not only honoring Srimati Ambujam Venkatraman, but also continuing the tradition of having the Srimati YGP Memorial Lecture, which was instituted by Sastra 7 years back, recalling the contributions that the Kula Guru of the Gurukul, as I usually refer to Mrs. YGP, has made for the schooling education ecosystem. And we have the tradition of inviting some of the best to deliver the YGP Memorial Lecture. So I would say that this is just a combination of the right set of attributes that has made it possible to have amidst us this evening Justice Dr. Anita Sumant to deliver the YGP Memorial Lecture as well as launch the Srimati Ambujam Venkatraman Endowment. Given the fact that she herself is a jurist par excellence when it comes to the tax jurisprudence, her contributions to the taxation sector, which is not surprising for many of those who are from the bar at the bench, knowing the family that she comes from, the legacy that she personifies. It is so apt and appropriate that we have Dr. Anita Sumant launching the endowment this evening. And this endowment is created to ensure that the best female law graduate from Shastra is given a scholarship, not only to complete the graduation, but also enough skills to pursue law as a successful practicing legal professional to enrich the quality of the bar. So that is one of the main reasons that this endowment has been created, and I'm not advancing the vote of thanks, but I thought it is appropriate in my welcome address also thank the family for coming out with an idea of this type and choosing Shastra, the institution where this endowment has to be established. I thank you very much on behalf of the management of Shastra. And the YGP Memorial Lecture, as I said before, we continue the tradition of inviting the best minds. And so, when Dr. Anita Sumant and I were discussing on the topic, which is women as professionals. It is a very wide canvas that cannot be captured in a matter of 30 minutes, but I'm sure, given the sharp mind that she is, she will definitely leave all of us an enlightened soul through her lecture that I, as much as you are awaiting, we await the memorial lecture. And with this very brief background, I welcome all of you for this evening function. Thank you very much.
Now it's time to honor and felicitate the chief guest and the guest of honor. May I request Director of Chennai Campus to hand over memento to Justice Dr. Anita Sumant. Can we request Mrs. and Mr. Amadurai to receive the mementos, please? Introduction and profile about Srimati Ambuja Venkatraman, in whose honor this endowment is being launched. It's fitting that we have a small introduction about Mrs. Ambuja Venkatraman. May I request Mrs. Sashikala Anand to do that?
Good evening. This is about Ambujam Venkatraman, who happens to be my mother-in-law. Born in 1932, Ambujam Venkatraman was fortunate to be part of the first generation of Indians who supported women's education. She entered the A.N. Iyer family as a young bride of 17 years. Being a voracious reader and a studious person, she was keen on pursuing her studies after marriage. Her father-in-law and her husband encouraged her, and she went on to complete her master's in economics and then graduated in law. She was already a mother of 3 by then. Srimati Ambujam Venkatraman started working as an editor in Company Law Institute in the year 1960 under the guidance of the founder, Sri A.N. Iyer. She was a capable and enthusiastic student. He passed on his inimitable style of writing, headnotes, and commentaries. She was fully imbibed in his unflinching devotion to work, discipline, eye for detail, accuracy, quality, and reliability. Under A.N. Iyer's guidance, she introduced a conceptually new analytical form of indexing, footnoting and cross-referencing, which is being followed to this day. This has provided a durable structure that has facilitated the conversion of past publications into searchable databases. In her career's span of 60 years, she has written books such as Changes in Income Tax Laws, 1963, Principles of Income Tax Law, 1964, and revised A.N. Iyer's commentary on income tax law in 1962 and 1978. Her compilations include ITR Digest, Volume 1 to 33, 1963, ITR Digest, Volume 33 to 48, 1964, ITR Digests 1965, 71, 73, and 76, ITR Digest Volume 1 to 100, 1981, ITR Index 1 to 50, 1964, ITR Index 1 to 100, 1976, ITR Index 1 to 160 in 2 volumes in 1988, Annual Digest from 1988 onwards, Digest of Cases on Direct Taxes decided by the Supreme Court, 1981, Digest of Cases on Direct Taxes decided by the Supreme Court, 1990. Her 4 children are all doing very well and have carved niches for themselves in fields as diverse as yoga, music, consulting, and writing. This in itself is a testament to her nurturing and support as a mother that has in no way been diminished by her full-time occupation as an editor and author. Let me just add, I am very proud of her.
Thank you, Fam, for the introduction. May I now request the formal launch of the endowment by Justice Dr. Anita Sumant by lighting Kuttavilakku. May I also request Mrs. Mahalakshmi and Mrs. Sashikala and Dr. Sudha Seshayan to join her in lighting the lamp. May I request the Chief Guest, Justice Dr. Anita Sumant, to give her address and enlighten us with wisdom, please.
Dr. Vaidya Subramaniam, most respected family members of Srimati Ambujam Venkatraman, respected family members of Dr. Srimati Rajalakshmi Parthasarathi, fondly known as Srimati YGP, other dignitaries on the dais, Justice Prabhashri Devan, dignitaries in the audience, dear students, I'm so happy to be seeing a room full of students, ladies and gentlemen, namaskaram to all of you. It gives me the greatest pleasure and I feel very privileged to be participating in this function today. The launch of the Srimati Ambujam Venkatraman Endowment has been timed to coincide with the occasion that the entire world celebrates as International Women's Day. And the timing is, I believe, simply perfect. There could be no better way to celebrate women than by felicitating these two icons, Srimati Ambujam and Srimati YG Parthasarathi, in whose memory I have been invited to speak to you today. First, on the topic itself. As Dr. Vaidya said, it is indeed very wide. Women as professionals can be interpreted to mean so many things. Just for starters, what specific qualities or value additions do women bring to a profession? What are the unique perspectives that they bring? What is the impact that women make on a profession? What kind of colleagues do women make? What are the advantages of having more women in a profession? So on and so forth. The list is truly endless and the possibilities, scope and interpretation of the topic are also really wide. Now, given the time at my disposal, I have had to make a difficult choice in terms of what I would like to zero in or zone in on to speak to you about. And I thought I would speak to you on women as mentors. In making this choice, I have taken a cue from the two gracious women who are the focus of the celebration today. Before I launch into the talk itself, a few words about each of them. What I'm going to say now is going to surprise the family of Srimati Ambujam. I have, in a way, grown up in the company of Srimati Ambujam. Why do I say this? My late senior and father was a tax practitioner first and foremost. And in those days, when father started practice, it was the norm to work out of home. So our home too doubled up as an office. They lived on the first floor and the office was on the ground floor. And Dad would start his reading after dinner for the next day. And I would trail downstairs with him and potter around as he gathered all his files and books for the next day's work. My most abiding memories are the two of us trudging back upstairs with a whole bundle of files, invariably juggling 3 or 4 ITR volumes, a copy of A.N. Iyer's and perhaps Chaturvedi and Pitisarya to round it all off. So initially, my role in this exercise was only as a porter. I just helped him carry things. But after I completed law and enrolled, my engagement in this was as a participant. And I treasure those nightly study sessions with the company of the unfailing and constant companions were the digests of ITRs with the crisp and reliable head notes. In fact, Madam told you about the manner of cross-referencing, the manner in which the report was structured, and that continues till date. The coverage of judgments was wide and uncompromising and lucid articles that it carried in the books. To my mind, Srimati Ambujam has the unique distinction of being the first lady of income tax in this country. And that is a title that no one else, to my knowledge, can lay claim to. I'm told that she's listening to us online, so I'm going to now address her directly. Madam, I thank you very much for the knowledge that I have gained over the years and what I continue to gain from the publications that you edited. More importantly, I thank you for those wonderful memories that I will always associate with your publications and I will cherish forever. It's a matter of honor for me to have launched this endowment to recognize the best woman graduate from Sastra Law School in your name. I pray that this endowment will prove, as you have, to be a source of inspiration for young women to strive to work hard, with flair, with integrity, commitment, attention to detail, discipline, devotion for the cause of law and justice. I hope she heard all of that. As far as Dr. Srimati YGP is concerned, her name is synonymous with the Padma Seshadri Balabhavan. A pioneer in education, every brick in that school would call her name. So too, the Bharat Kalachar, the organization started by her, known for its patronage of Indian art and culture. Srimati YGP was a legend in the sphere of education, and she ruled with an iron hand. I remember tales of how she used to instill discipline and insistence on quality, equally in both the students and faculty. When she was in her prime managing the school, I happened to be in school myself, a different one, and we used to be regular participants in inter-school culturals. And I remember the awe with which the PSBB students used to refer to her, known to be a terror in her times, but a fair, well-respected, beloved and gracious lady. She was the recipient of several awards, but the one that resonated most with me was the Avvayar Award from the then Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, Dr. J. Jayalalitha, in 2012 in recognition of her exemplary service in the field of empowerment of women. A true inspiration for generations of women that seek to emulate her grit, determination, confidence and courage. At this juncture, I would like to thank Shastra for this opportunity to reminisce about these two women, to recall thoughts about them, truly two timeless and inspirational personalities. Now, before I launch into my address, I must clarify my understanding of what a professional is. We understand a professional as contradistinguished from a non-professional who also works, as one who has acquired a certain qualification and is engaged in a specific activity qua that qualification. My talk is, however, not premised on such a narrow or a traditional understanding of professionals, but on a wider understanding that all women who work, demonstrate skill and expertise in one way or the other. Thus, I will take this as an opportunity to address women folk across the board, not restricted to traditional and a somewhat restricted understanding of who a professional is. Now, having got that out of the way, I'll share my thoughts. The participation of women in a profession, or for that matter, as workforce in our country, has never been treated on an equal keel with male counterparts. Having said that, there is a dawning realization that professions and workplaces thrive with the infusion of women. Now, I'm not going to give you statistics here because they're all available online at the touch of a button. But the numbers reveal that companies with high numbers of women outperform companies with lower representation of women on their boards and in their offices. Now, this is what drives the need and burning necessity for mentorship of women. Organizations that embrace mentoring are rewarded with higher levels of employee engagement, retention, and knowledge sharing. So that's a given today. We all know the value that women bring to a workplace. And it is no longer moot as to the enhancement in quality and output of a workplace with the increase in women power. How then can one enable increased contribution of women to a profession or workplace? Let's take stock for a minute. Despite 75 years of the Constitution, constitutional guarantees of equality in employment are more a fond wish than reality. Statutes, delegated legislation, circulars, notifications, rules take their own sweet time to fructify. Let me give you an example. You would all have heard of the landmark case of Vishaka versus State of Rajasthan, which is the reason why we have the Prevention of Sexual Harassment in the Workplace Act today. That judgment was rendered in 1987 by the Supreme Court in anticipation of a law that one hoped would follow immediately. Ultimately, the law came, but in 2013, 16 years later. So these things take time. And this is where we, as women who are secure in a profession, with all the concomitant benefits accompanying that security, economic, social, all other kind of benefits, must step in. Mentoring is not about rescuing women. Women don't need rescuing, but about being there when we are needed, for whatever the purpose may be, without judging, sometimes just to give them a vigilant ear. It is about ensuring equal pay, standing up for them in issues that only another woman will understand, helping to devise solutions that are equitable. This is perhaps the reason why under the POSH Act, there is a requirement that the Internal Complaints Committee, all of you know that there are internal complaints committees that are mandated in every institution. The chairman is mandated to be a woman. Why? Because it is expected that it is a woman who will demonstrate empathy and a certain level of enhanced understanding that may not be immediately forthcoming from a male superior. Now, I want to add very quickly that, and categorically, that this is not a generic sentiment where I am endorsing institutionalized gender preference in organizations. Please, I want to make that very clear. I am a firm proponent of the importance of merit in an organization. Any organization, though with due deference to all social and other compulsions. My point is that women very often don't get their due despite their merit, and sometimes apparently better qualifications, not just academically, but in every which way. As mentors, such a situation is our cue to ensure a level playing field in order that the best candidate wins. If the best candidate wins, then the organizations win, and we as mentors win as well. One practical problem that we have today is there are few women in leadership roles who can make that difference. Take my institution. I will talk about that because I have ready access to the numbers from that and I have a working knowledge of how it functions. So I culled some statistics out today. Now these statistics tell me that out of 763 judges in the country, only 108 are women. Incidentally, when I say 763, this refers to the present working strength of the judges as against 1,122, which is the sanctioned strength. What that means in layman's lingo would be that this number of judges sanctioned pan-India are 1,122, as against which we have 763, as against which 108 are women. That's at the High Court level. Let's take it a notch lower. In the districts, these figures are a lot more robust. As against 1,248 judges in judicial service, we have 695 males and 553 female judges, which is a percentage of 44.31 female judges. That is reason to clap. We also are engaged in selections for a whole lot of fora. We select people from public prosecutors to mediators to arbitrators to law clerks to research assistants to judges themselves. And we find increasingly that women are outnumbering men in running for those positions. This is yet another reason why mentorship becomes that much more critical. I think the boys here are very bored. I'm sorry, I did not expect such a large collection of young boys over here, and I have nothing of interest for you. But do listen. I do wish that you would bear with me for another just less than 10 minutes because we need your participation more than anybody else's participation to make this happen. Now, we have a committee at the level of the High Court to mentor women judges in the district or to offer assistance should they need it. Now, I just want to tell you the apprehensions that we have when we make those recruitments. Today, a civil judge or a munsif is recruited at the age of 22 or 23 onwards. Just imagine that scenario. A newly minted civil judge or munsif, extremely green around the gills, having to hold court in a taluk or in a district where doyens of the bar will appear, where they will be guided by or misguided. We cannot lose sight of the realities, misguided by seasoned veterans who are staff in those courts. Quite apart from the sheer power that that position as a judge commands, there are demands of organizational skill, knowledge of the law, ability to deal with the volume of litigation that confounds them, ability to deal with all kinds of people, most of whom will be senior in age and experience. Just think of that task. It's just too daunting and can be quite overwhelming. But we, that is the system, needs those people. We need those intelligent, young, enthusiastic judicial officers as they are the entry point. We need them to be well equipped and we need them to be robust and ready to take on the task. And thus the need to guide them, mentor them, make sure that they stay the course without burning out or breaking down, cultivate integrity, knowledge of the law, concepts of justice and fair play. Our task as mentors is also a very daunting one. I believe that every profession, every workplace will have these kind of challenges or similar challenges, be it medicine or engineering, academics, government service, non-governmental service, information technology, whatever you may see. And there will be other challenges unique to those professions as well. And I firmly believe that those challenges can be met if and only if the senior professionals rise to the occasion and provide fair leadership and mentorship. We will have to be that person who allows the junior colleague to see the hope inside themselves. There is a somewhat deviant perspective, which is that sometimes women are harsher on women than men when it comes to the workplaces, as they are perceived as competition perhaps. I have to mention this as it is a part of reality and not something that we can ignore. It is, however, far from the universal truth. As a phenomenon, it is heavily dependent on workplace dynamics, and the takeaway from that is that the selection of mentor must be such that when we choose a mentor for an individual, the pairing must be done very carefully, bearing in mind all such factors and dynamics. What about the mentors themselves? Can one ever be so senior as to be beyond the need for inspiration, beyond the need for guidance or support? The higher on the ladder one climbs, the more isolated one becomes. In such circumstances, one draws inspiration from women on whose shoulders one has traveled in order to achieve, as well as other women in public life, and one would learn from watching them conduct themselves, hearing them speak, reading their biographies or autobiographies, learning from their experiences, their successes, their mistakes, from their grace. All women thus provide mentorship either directly or indirectly, and we would do well to remember this in the examples that one sets. As for me, I just call Justice Prabha. I want to share with you what Robert Frost said in The Road Less Travelled. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveller. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. And he ends by saying, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less travelled by, and that has made all the difference. I have, and I'm sure many of you sitting here would have had the blessing and the power of choice. And that's the blessing that we have the responsibility to pass on as professionals. So in conclusion, and touching on the topic today, which is women as professionals, I will say this: women as professionals are unstoppable. Women as professionals must be fair. Women as professionals have the responsibility to mentor, give back, and create generations of women after us who have, as we did, the power of choice. Thank you very much.
Making a slight departure before we formally propose the vote of thanks, I must wholeheartedly thank Justice Anita Suman for such a wonderful lecture. And I think it's words of wisdom for every member in this audience group, and more specifically for the students. With no heavy feelings for the boys on the other side, she also articulated the fact that you are part of the success story, and definitely I'm sure you will be. But I just want to also leave a thought. I asked the question myself, if Mrs. YGP was here alive, what she would have done going back to the school, and in the immediate presence of Mr. Sheila Rajendra, she would have immediately convened a meeting and would have said, one of my students, Vaidya Subramaniam, has created an endowment of this type, which is going to reward the best outgoing girl law graduate. And you would have noticed Dr. Anita Sumant in her speech saying that, during the culturals competition, it is the students from PSBB who will also, display certain levels of differentia when it comes to competition. So it is with the same competitive spirit. She would have definitely ordered all the teachers, I don't know what you're going to do, make sure that it is a PSBB alumna who also walks away with this award when it comes to that. But I'm not meaning any motives, but I'm just telling you that it's going to be very competitive because there are students from other schools as well. And the way in which we have heard from Justice Dr. Anita Suman, the way in which all of these have fallen in place, and I'm sure that this award is going to emerge as one of the prestigious awards that a girl student in the Sastra School of Law will aspire to win, and it's going to get competitive in the years to come. Thank you very much.
May I request Mrs. Mahalakshmi Ramadurai to give the vote of thanks, please.
Namaskar. I really do want to start by thanking this whole event, which actually echoes exactly what my mother wanted. She wanted to be a professional, and she always encouraged all of us. I think in the family, her sisters, they all wanted to become masters. She always told me, though I ran away, I got married very early, I didn't run away. I was very much an arranged marriage. But I got married when I was just about 18, 19. She was very surprised. She used to turn to me and say, "Padikka vendama unakku?" Because she was so full of that determination to go to school, in spite of the fact in those days, those 3 days, you cannot go to school. And you wouldn't be allowed to do so many things at home. You would have to take on some chores, looking after her siblings. All these were part of her reality. At the same time, she was always wanting to study. And so, me, like my mother, I was encouraged by my husband. So I went on to do my B.Ed and M.Ed. And she was very surprised. She said, "All the time I told you to do something at home, you never did. Now," but it's her inspiration. And I do want to thank Dr. Vaidya Subramaniam, Vice Chancellor, for having accepted to have this endowment. Because I believe that Amma was and is very, very much into women studying, women having a profession. And when we mooted the idea, he was very, very open. And that was one of the reasons when Ram, my husband, called, he at once readily accepted and he said he would do it. And I'm so happy he's chosen such a lovely occasion when Dr. Anita Suman came and gave such a wonderful speech, exactly echoing my mother's wishes. So I have a big list that was given by my husband that I need to thank all of them. So let me say that I would really like to thank every one of you for having come here and encouraging and making sure that this event is really something that will be remembered by all of us in the family. First of all, our cousin, Justice Prabhasri Devan. I have, of course, my mama, Dr. Ramchandran. He's older than my mother, and I think she owes it some of it to you, because you both used to fight a lot verbally, and I think that competition, the competitive spirit, I think must have been instilled during those interactions. Dr. Surendran, thank you so much for coming. Such a busy schedule in Shankar Netralaya, I know. Thank you so much for being here. Dr. Chikala from Kalakshetra, Chairman. Thank you so much for being here. I don't know how many of you are here. I can't see some of you, and I think I think I do need the cataract soon. But whoever I can see, I'm really very, very grateful to all of you for having come. People have come from out of town. People have come who have not very much time, but have made time to come and be a part of this event. I really, really thank you. And I only wish that my mother could have been here with you. I know she would have wanted to, but she's not keeping very well. And so she said that it may not be a good thing for her to travel right now. But I will make sure that when she comes, that she'll come and see you. Yeah, I will let you know. I will. And it would be a pleasure for us. And we always have very fond memories of Sastra University. Whenever we come, we've been welcomed. And I think this whole atmosphere has been so beautifully conducive. And it's truly been a wonderful experience. So thank you so much on my mother's behalf and all my siblings. I've got 3 other siblings who unfortunately couldn't be here. On their behalf also, I thank you all.
It's time to honor the nation. Let's all join in singing the national anthem, please.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाता जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता